Welcome to Daily Variety, your daily dose of news and analysis for entertainment industry insiders. It's Monday, August 10th, 2026. I'm your host, Cynthia Littleton. I am co-editor-in-chief of Variety alongside Ramin Satuda. I'm in LA, he's in New York, and Variety has reporters around the world covering the business of entertainment. On today's episode, in our box office segment, we'll hear from Variety's Rebecca Rubin, who has been busy tracking more happy box office milestones. Spider-Man Brand New Day had an eye-popping second weekend, and The Odyssey is now officially Christopher Nolan's highest-grossing movie ever, surpassing The Dark Knight and Oppenheimer. And the hits just keep on coming as the summer box office has reached the all-important $4 billion mark. Rubin will unpack it all, but before we get to all of that, here are a few headlines just in this morning that you need to know. Netflix has set the date for Danny Boyle's Rupert Murdoch biopic. Ink will land in theaters for a limited release starting December 11th. It will move to the streamer on January 8th. The great Guy Pearce takes on the role of the swashbuckling global media baron of our times. My colleague Clayton Davis has the scoop. The migration of video podcasts to streaming platforms continues. Disney has cut a deal with iHeartMedia for 6 weekly video podcasts that will stream on Disney Plus or Hulu, starting with the Jonas Brothers' recently launched Hey Jonas podcast. The others include Pod Meets World, Desperately Devoted, Real Friends with Zach and Donald, and Thanks Dad with Ego Wodim. My colleague Brian Steinberg has a sobering report about the shift of advertising dollars from linear to streaming platforms. Upfront spending this year on broadcast TV dropped by a little more than 5%, according to an analysis by research firm Media Dynamics, Inc. Spending on cable TV fell even more, nearly 8%. All of these stories and so much more can be found on Variety.com right now. And now it's time for conversations with Variety journalists about news and trends in show business. If it's Monday, we're talking box office with Rebecca Rubin. She's been tracking the summer box office stats like a hawk, and there are some good ones to talk about after this weekend. Rebecca Rubin, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So, another weekend, many more milestones at the box office. I know you were busy writing milestones for Spider-Man Brand New Day, new milestones for The Odyssey. It looks like it was that kind of a weekend. Not a lot of activity, not a lot of wide openers.
That was a big weekend for holdovers. Spider-Man Brand New Day and The Odyssey were the number 1 and 2 movies at the box office by a mile.
And so, this has surpassed The Dark Knight as the highest-grossing film in the Christopher Nolan canon?
Yes. The Odyssey now has made $1.1 billion, and it is officially Christopher Nolan's highest-grossing movie of all time, and it's also the highest-grossing IMAX release ever. It has made $289 million just in IMAX, and that's above the company's prior record holder, which was Avatar, and that movie made around $270 million in IMAX. And what's significant about both of these milestones, both being Christopher Nolan's biggest movie and IMAX's biggest movie, is this film has only been out for 4 weeks, and it does not appear close to be slowing down. And so those numbers are just going to keep rising and keep rising. And people are still unsure where they predict this movie is going to top out, knowing that it doesn't open in China until this week. China is a very big movie-going market, and a lot of those IMAX screens are sold out through September. Christopher Nolan is a popular director there, and so I think just knowing the amount of hype that this film has already, the fact that it has already crossed the $1 billion mark, is going to generate a lot of excitement in China for this movie.
So, Rebecca, has it opened pretty much everywhere else outside of the U.S. but China?
There are a few other major territories I don't think it has opened yet in Japan or Korea, and those are also big movie-going markets. So those are just other reasons why I think enthusiasm is so high. It's going to just keep generating hype until they open in those territories.
Well, Matt Damon and his A very strong pecs and arm muscles will be just flexing all over the world. In the territories that it has opened, is there any area that stands out in terms of really delivering receipts for the Odyssey, again, outside the US?
Right now, the top territories for the Odyssey are the United Kingdom and Ireland. It has made $67 million there. France, where it's made 45 million, and Italy, where it's made 42 million. And those are a lot of the standard territories where a film like this would break out. So not totally surprising, but it's basically doing well everywhere. When you have a movie like this, it's clearly firing on all cylinders. And the next record to keep an eye out for is whether it can overtake Deadpool and Wolverine as the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time. Deadpool and Wolverine, which opened in 2024, has made $1.3 billion. And so conventional wisdom would say that given the run and the fact that there's still so much demand in the Odyssey, it seems like it will get there.
I can already see the Deadpool and Wolverine Odyssey mashups. The memes, they're not hard to imagine, so that's wild. Well, this is just amazing news. And again, amazing news for adult drama, really serious, heady filmmaking. I love it. Let's talk about Spider-Man Brand New Day. Again, I know that just keep packing them in.
Spider-Man is showing no signs of slowing down. The movie brought in $145 million in its second weekend of release. And just to put that in context, there's only been one other movie this year that has made around that much in its opening weekend. And so its second weekend was bigger than the opening weekend of just about every film that has come out in the past 7 months. And for people who like records, it was the third biggest second weekend of all time. I know that's a peculiar metric, but just speaks to the staying power of the film. And the number 1 and 2 in that category, the movie that had the biggest second weekend of all time is the Star Wars Force Awakens, which made $149 million. And then the second biggest second weekend was Avengers Endgame, which made $147 million. And when the final number for Spider-Man Brand New Day comes in, it could actually be within striking distance of at least Avengers Endgame. Off by 2 million wouldn't be that much of a stretch, but there's only been 8 movies ever that have made more than $100 million in their sophomore outings, and so it really is in rarefied territory here.
Third biggest second weekend of all time. Say that fast 3 times. Let me ask you again, internationally, is Spider-Man, is it pretty much opened where it's going to open, or does it still have some platforming to go?
Yeah, it's basically opened everywhere, and it is for people who love those records, it is the second fastest movie to make $1 billion at the international box office. And right now it has made $1.6 billion globally to date. And again, that's after less than 2 weekends of release. And so it is barreling towards the $2 billion mark. And people are just very excited to see where the film will end up. If it has the staying power it could be the first, if staying power is really significant, it could be the first movie to ever reach $1 billion at the domestic box office. Right now, The Force Awakens is the highest grossing domestic movie ever with $936 million. And so definitely will be fun to see where Spider-Man ends up, but it looks like it has pretty much free reign other than the Odyssey through the rest of August, and these movies have already shown that they can coexist alongside each other and still pack in audiences, so they're not cannibalizing each other. People are very interested in going to see both movies.
It will really be interesting in the next, 6, 7, 8 weeks to see what the momentum impact is here. I have no doubt exhibitors are tracking it down to the popcorn kernel, but to see, is this that inflection point that everybody's hoping for? It seems like you cannot have this kind of foot traffic at the multiplexes without having a nice residual tail going into the end of the year. I know we're getting at a summer blockbuster season now. What's the next big wide release that you will watch the opening for to see if the summer box office momentum will continue into the fall?
Yeah. The next big studio release is The End of Oak Street, which Warner Brothers is releasing. It is a sci-fi movie that stars Anne Hathaway and Ewan McGregor. So Anne Hathaway is clearly also having a very big summer. She was in The Devil Wears Prada 2 and The Odyssey as well. So she's trying to come for Tom and Zendaya's crown, but I don't think she'll reach it. But that will be a fun one to keep an eye on because it's not part of a franchise. It's an original movie, and that'll be an interesting one to test audiences' appetite for some of these non-franchise films. And then the fall season will really kick off with Verity, which is the next Colleen Hoover adaptation. There is Digger, the big Tom Cruise movie, and Practical Magic 2, which is a sequel with Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock. And those movies are going to try to keep the momentum up before the holiday season, which brings a new Hunger Games movie, the third Dune movie, and then Avengers Doomsday, which is predicted to be a huge film, of course, as well. And there's actually one more bit of good news to highlight before we close out, because Monday, the summer box office is supposed to hit $4 billion, and it'll be the second time since the pandemic that summer revenues have hit that milestone. It used to regularly eclipse the $4 billion mark pre-COVID, but of course, there's been all kinds of challenges since then. The only other time that Hollywood has earned $4 billion since the pandemic was in 2023, when, of course, Barbenheimer was all the rage. And so the significance here is that we are only at August 10th. And so this will firmly be the biggest summer since the pandemic.
Of course, the common thread there is Christopher Nolan. Wow. As ever, Rebecca, thank you for tracking this important market so well.
Thank you for having me.
As we close out today's episode, here's a few things we're watching for. Here comes the Disney Fan Fest D23 later this week. We'll have a big team down there in Anaheim. It rolls out starting Friday, August 14th through the weekend, and there will be a lot of news. This Sunday comes a big moment for DC Studios with the premiere of HBO's Lanterns, a new iteration on the Green Lantern from Warner Brothers Television and DC Studios. It's in the hands of showrunners Damon Lindelof and Chris Mundy. Don't miss my colleague Michael Schneider's conversation with the cast of Ted Lasso as Season 4 of the Apple TV comedy series dawns. It's got great backstory on how this season of Ted Lasso turned the focus onto women's sports, and there are a lot of great nuggets for superfans about the key characters and plot lines. There's a good write-up and the full video on Variety.com if you're inclined. And finally, don't miss Rebecca Rubin's great story on One Night Only, the Universal Pictures rom-com from director Will Gluck. Gluck explains why he cut sex scenes out of his R-rated movie. We love to hear from our listeners, so please send thoughts, gripes, and other feedback about Daily Variety to podcasts@variety.com. Before we go, congrats to Luca Guadagnino. The Italian Helmer will receive the Cartier Glory to the Filmmaker Award at this year's Venice Film Festival. Guadagnino will be in Venice to premiere his 7-hour documentary about director Bernardo Bertolucci, Joie de Vivre. Guadagnino will receive the kudo on September 8th, right before the premiere of Joie de Vivre. Thanks for listening. This episode was written and reported by me, Cynthia Littleton, with contributions from Rebecca Rubin. Stick, snicks, hick, picks. Please leave us a review at the podcast platform of your choice, and don't forget to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Daily Variety.